world around us is changing. Our young people face competition for jobs in the future like we have never faced in my generation.
10 is a kind of watershed. Pre-10, the majority of children buy into education. They're very engageable. Post-10, something happens.
We've travelled across the country to visit 5 areas where schools are working in innovative and interesting ways to raise attainment and are succeeding in bridging the gap. Today we've come to Glasgow, where though the education system is different from England, many of the issues it faces are the same. Glasgow is currently home to a major redevelopment programme designed to reinvigorate a city which has suffered years of decline. There remain many areas of urban deprivation where economic investments have yet to make an impact. An example of the recent redevelopment is the Glasgow Tower, where psychologist Alan McLean reflects on the struggle to get Glaswegian children to buy into the education system.
If they don't buy in and engage with education, they're not going to achieve. I'd say engagement and motivation is probably more important than ability, because you can imagine a group of people with children with the same level of ability. Half will do well and half won't do well, and I can pretty much guarantee you the group that do well are the group with motivation.
Glasgow over the last 40-50 years has seen a significant level of depopulation from the area, and population is now about 600,000 where it was 1 million in the 1950s. And with that, along with that, there's been a decline in some of our traditional industries. So there's been a massive loss of jobs, and with that a number of people have left the city, and we've been left with a number of areas vastly depopulated, with a number of youngsters who suffer significant disadvantage in their home background. The attainment levels in Glasgow schools have been disappointing, and a number of our schools, all our schools, have been working very, very hard to try to improve this.
We've come to Scotland to look at the different approaches 3 schools are taking in dealing with this problem. Smithycroft Secondary School is in the poorest area of Glasgow. Barhead High School and St Ninian's High School are in the better off suburbs and have both been awarded extra funding as part of their Schools of Ambition status. This is similar in some ways to specialist school status and delivers at least £300,000 over 3 years in extra funding. The scheme was introduced in 2005 by the then Scottish Minister for Education, Peter Peacock.
Well, the world around us is changing. Our young people face competition for jobs in the future like we have never faced in my generation. We've got an absolute obligation to help them meet those challenges. The school system does that. It's got to shape up to the future and adapt and change. And Schools of Ambition is one of the ways in which we've learned about the change process.
Just south of Glasgow is one of the first 20 recipients of funding from the Schools of Ambition, Barhead High School.
We're always trying to close the gap, and the gap of opportunity, the gap of actual attainment in our schools. And yes, Schools of Ambition can contribute to that, because one of the features of those schools, those communities where there's lower attainment, is a poverty of aspiration.
School of Ambition helps us with that huge middle group who never ruffle the surface, but who need our support and need self-esteem in order to succeed to their maximum potential.
Okay, so today's revision then is going to be on multiplying and dividing by...
Schools of Ambition funding has been spent on 2 key areas, drama and maths. Maths teacher Gary Maguire uses the funds to offer extra lessons for pupils at risk of falling behind.
What it allowed us to do was to enable some second and first year classes to become involved with supported study. It was good for their confidence, because the more that they know before they go into the 3rd and 4th year classes, the more confident they're going to be, so therefore a bit more successful.
And a new drama teacher and drama studio have also been funded with the extra cash.
Is it on yet? Yes.
Okay, I'm Stephen Dixon, here with Andrew Wilson, captain of the SWAT team. Just behind me there's been a huge bank robbery. So Andrew, what happened?
Well, the robbers changed from their banks.
The extra funding, but much more than the extra funding, the mindset, the way of thinking, the approach, the confidence that it's given. That's what's made this enormous difference. It is the most exciting experience to be part of.
Barhead is working to raise the confidence of their students in all sorts of ways, such as this class on survival cooking.
We've had courses in survival cookery, and the idea there is about confidence. Young people ready to leave home, ready, whether it's because they're going to university or because they're moving out into a tenancy of their own, need to have the confidence to be able to fend for themselves, and one of the ways they do that is in cooking. Knowing how to cook on a shoestring budget, although it appears to be about cookery, is about confidence.
We draw youngsters from almost every housing scheme in the northeast of Glasgow. Many of them come from as far away as perhaps 2 miles or so to get to the school. It's in an area of some fairly severe socioeconomic deprivation. 3 years ago we identified, as did schools across the city of Glasgow, that we did have a major issue in a number of youngsters who were not going into employment, continue with education or going into training. We identify this group of youngsters, and really there's no rocket science involved here. What we do is we work with the young people on an individual basis. We've been very successful in addressing the number of our young people who are classified as NEET. In other words, that means not in education, employment or training. About 4 years ago the figure was roughly around about 30% of our leavers were not going to what you might regard as a worthwhile destination. 2 years ago we actually had that figure lowered to 6%, and last year we actually got it down to 0%. In other words, every one of the young people eligible to leave in May of 2006 actually got an appropriate destination, be it in education, employment or training.
In order to deliver this individualised help, the school set up support for learning for these 14-year-olds.
They're at that stage where you know, they need to have just skills for thinking about. A lot of them will leave school when they're 16, so we're hoping to just build up their confidence and tackling new things, giving them strategies how to do that. They were actually chosen by the school. The girl who's support for learning head, she had looked at children and looked at the kind of needs that they had. Maybe socially and emotionally they needed to be part of a group. Some of them had very low self-esteem. Some of them just felt that they weren't good at anything. Even doing something like they're doing just now, the craft work there, they're taking part, they're encouraging one another, and you know, I see a big change in some of the children over the year.
A number of our schools have employed extra careers officers, and the careers advisors working with teachers in the schools have helped many of the youngsters, you know, prepare for interviews, write application forms for jobs, and I think that's been a major contributor to the reduction in the NEET figures.
At Smithy Croft School, they've employed Marie Kerr in this role.
Basically, the Principal Teacher World of Work has a remit that focuses on preparing pupils in the school for after school, really life, work, college, university, whatever it may be, so I can have an input into any of those areas.
Marie's role, which seems unique to Glasgow, includes advising students on job applications, as well as entry into further education and training.
Where are you going now, Debbie? What's your plans for the future?
Well, I've got into Stowe College, where I'm hoping to study theatre arts. Okay. I'll do that at NQ level, and then...
People from business who are saying, you know, pupils are coming out of school not prepared for the world of work. And when we say not prepared, we don't mean they don't have the subject knowledge that they learn in school, but they don't have the skills and the qualities that are necessary for the world of work that exists in this end, the west of Scotland, and particularly in Glasgow. You have got a good I can do attitude that will take you through.
There are things that they can actually handle, there are things that they can show, and in the wider sense, that enhances their sense of self-belief and gives them a sense of achievement, which I think carries on and allows them to see themselves as being capable of perhaps a bit more than perhaps they thought they were.
Ten is a kind of watershed. Pre-10, the majority of children buy into education. They're very engageable. Post-10, something happens. And it's the social, cultural, peer group, hormonal, it's all these combinations come together.
Just north of Glasgow, our final school, St Ninians High School, is seeing the benefits of working to improve the level of students' engagement with education.
Because of what we're doing in terms of better engaging the pupils, discipline has improved, low level and discipline has improved. Our statistics to back that up. Our attendance has improved. We've improved our attendance figures by something like 4% in the last 2 years. And that may be a lot of factors, but one of the key factors I think is that children like coming here more because of what's happening in their classes on a day-to-day basis.
What feature allows you to move the view of your document from left to right?
Once again, Schools of Ambition funding seems to be helping. Here in the ICT classroom, it's funding attractive new kit, like these remote control voting devices.
And I'll find out who exactly is getting what question wrong, so we can really tailor that learning to you.
Through the ICT department have made astonishing improvements over the last 2 years in terms of the technology that they now have access to.
You just go onto the computer and work through your word processing, okay?
We're quite confident because we have invested in hardware and in the staff development, and we've invested in attitudes, that those attitudes can continue beyond the life of the funding for the programme.
One scheme they intend to continue once the funding runs out is their Reach for the Stars assembly.
Is everybody happy?
We feel you've got to believe to achieve. Believe will help you to achieve. Believe in your own self. Believe in your own abilities.
The Reach for the Stars ceremony, which rewards good behaviour, was in place before the extra cash was given. But Schools of Ambition funding has allowed them to expand the scheme and to teach other schools about it.
And then I'm going to ask you to raise your hands and tell me what it means to be caring, what it means to be prepared.
Wear your school uniform smart.
Wear your school uniform smartly.
Reach for the Stars is all about instilling in children self-confidence, self-belief, self-esteem, where we want them to be confident individuals whereby they can take part and participate in everything that goes on.
We have no lack of faith. We believe. We will achieve.
The examples we've seen of how the Scottish education system is working to bridge the attainment gap featured Barhead High, where they're tailoring the curriculum to their young people's needs.
I think by offering opportunity after opportunity to achieve to young people, we are helping to close the gap.
Smithycroft, which has implemented a range of support mechanisms to help the student in school and in preparation for life when they leave.
Whether you're a school of ambition or not is not a reason for actually looking at imaginative and effective ways of responding to the needs of your young people.
And St Ninians, where they're working to engage their students in the transformative effect of the education process.
You've got to believe to achieve. Believe will help you to achieve. Believe in your own self.